Remember Mind's Eye? One of the worst games that got released this year? Well, it's not over just yet, boys. Oh, that's right. Mind's Eye, the game that's gonna replace GTA, the game that didn't succeed because the people at Rockstar paid internet trolls to talk bad about them? Checks notes. Oh, wow, that's the actual real thing that these people said. Yes, yes, it's getting more insane. That's right.
It's very rare you get this many people signing their name to something. So to start this video, I'm just going to begin with a quote. Here it is. One of the worst video game launches this decade. That is what forced nearly 100 developers to take a public stand against their management. And here's their message to the CEO. CEOs need to take a back seat. Let the skilled people who remain forge the path ahead. Yes, so that's what the
skilled people that remain. I'm sorry, did the CEOs tell you to keep the bugs in the game? Did the CEOs tell you to make the story slop and boring? Did the CEOs tell you to make the game as woke as possible? No. 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 Of course not. Granted, the CEOs are responsible for many wrongdoings, but in gaming, there are so many situations where the CEOs get contributed so much extra blame for things that they never did. My favorite example is the legendary Bobby Big D original Hard R N-word Kotick, the god of gaming. That's right, boys. He is a legend, and we all love him and respect him for what he has done. He held the dam. Bobby didn't even know what World of Warcraft is, yet he made so much money with it, okay? Bobby is not responsible and was never responsible for the raids being shit, for the story being garbage. He didn't do it. He didn't even know what World of Warcraft was, but some people blamed him. For all of these decisions, it's actually the people at the bottom that are responsible. Because the people at the top don't care how you make the interface. But if you make the interface bad, it's not their fault. Because, I mean, the people at the top are not going to be thinking, well, the people working under me are so incompetent they can't even make an interface properly. Turns out they can't make an interface properly.
Developers behind Mind's Eye have basically said in an open letter. It's one that decries their leadership for their game's release. And, Mind's Eye didn't really have a great release, to put it lightly. But also more than that, for the unbearable mismanagement they say they endured. And they have a simple message, one that names and shames leadership for their hypocrisy. Mark Gerhardt and Leslie Benzies, you often refer to your employees as family, but we ask you to...
Based. Listen. Every single person who is working at a company, and then they hear the magical yet fantastic words, here at this company, we are a family, and you don't run? I mean, that's on you, buddy, okay? I'm not gonna lie, that is on you. And that is mistakes being made, and that's your mistake, because those words are literally only made to take advantage of you. And you just sat there with a smile on your face and said, finally, Dad loves me. Ugh, weak.
Consider, is this really how to treat your own?
Yes.
Holy shit, that's scathing. And to be the complete opposite of that, you'll want to hit up boot.dev because the world needs better developers. Awesome. Mind's Eye's launch in June left us calling it one of the worst games of 2025. Certainly, it was one of the worst games relative to its budget. It was a single-player open-world game that came from Leslie Benzie's studio, and Leslie
literally intended to take over GTA 6, by the way. Do you remember which other game was said and marketed itself as the GTA killer? Concord! Yes, Concord! And they actually sold that dream to Sony. No, seriously. Sony bought Firewalk Studios, the guys who made Concord, for $200 million. 200 milli, or was it 400? I don't remember, but a staggering amount of money that's literally the same as just throwing it into the trash. Because they bought the idea that Concord is gonna be the next Call of Duty. It's gonna overthrow GTA, and no one's gonna remember Overwatch after it launches. Jokes on them when that Concord was about to come out. We already didn't care about Overwatch because Marvel Rivals existed, but still, the point stands.
He's a fairly big name in the industry. He is actually one of the minds behind Grand Theft Auto. This time round, it was a mess, in the bad way. It was buggy, quite uninspired, just a general disaster. But something clearly had went wrong during development. Nobody would actually plan to release their game like that. And indeed, a lot went on during development, and funnily enough, they had a humongous and eminently investable games plan that didn't really go right, leading to Mind's Eye having to be, to put it mildly, shat out. Allegations on sites like Glassdoor painted a dire picture, one of management failures, and when we first covered Mind's Eye, we wondered when, not if, staff would be held responsible for their leadership's decisions. It obviously didn't take long because within 2 weeks of launch, Builder Rocket Boy, Barb for short, announced plans for redundancies. Of course, UK law required advance notice. IGN reviewed an internal email from management. Here's how they framed it. A shift from, quote, an intense development and launch phase to, quote, sustainable post-launch support. Now, to the credit of the remaining staff, they have done relatively well with their post-launch support. Really, credit where it's due. Recent Steam reviews
Relatively well.
for the game sit at 84% positive, all 57
Wow.
of them, mind you. And that's after a 30% discount in the autumn sale. And they're now up to update 4.1. There's more missions, better stability, perhaps driven by season pass obligations they do need to deliver, but there's been more work going on behind the scenes than just game development. Now to the inciting incident of today's video, a newly published open letter that just dropped. It's signed by 93 current and former Barb employees. They accuse leadership of, quote, long-standing disrespect and mistreatment of your staff. Here's what the letter says, right?
Based.
That most of the 250 to 300 layoffs happened in the UK. So they're working with the Independent Workers of Great Britain Union, and their demand is the leadership must change their ways. Reasons why include a lack of transparency, unbearable overtime, disastrous redundancy handling, and this all started before the launch even happened. Staff claim they faced mandatory overtime for 4 months pre-launch, 8 extra hours per week. Statements from employees allege serious consequences. Here's a quote. Some horrific mental and even physical illnesses beyond even the typical widespread burnout. So that was already bad enough.
I'm sorry, but that's so funny. But, I mean, they are a family, and family demands sacrifice.
But the reward for the overtime was actually a bit worse. It was 7 hours of time off for every 8 hours worked. Of course, they haven't been able to take that time off. Why not? Well, because many of them are on redundancy notice.
Good.
But also, Barb's leadership says post-launch updates are, quote, high priority. So that very positive recent review score in Steam is, I guess, an adequate enough reward for them. They won't need that accrued time off. But of course, what this does is create additional pressure. These staff are now picking up the slack left by departed people. Now, these redundancies were apparently handled abominably. Here's what employees said, quote, we believe you have consistently mishandled.
By the way, this sounds like such an amazingly easy job to do. Because you can just blame all of your problems on something else and just figure out what's the important. Like, if I was in this environment, I would be thriving. I would probably be there sitting doing absolutely nothing and still being hailed as an absolute a gem at the company because I do so much. Man, all of this sounds like such an easy free paycheck.
The redundancy process, causing confusion and distress for staff. Employees have received misinformation, been handled dismissal notices with the wrong notice periods, and put in the wrong teams so that their performances were scored by the wrong people. These and other errors have potentially resulted in the wrongful dismissal of dozens of staff members. Of course, that last part goes beyond mere criticism. That's because wrongful dismissal is what some staff
Illegal.
are taking legal action over. Okay, Barb's leadership faces a war on two fronts here. The open letter is the first part of that. It's a public campaign from staff to drum up support. The letter calls for 4 changes from leadership: a public apology for their mistreatment and proper compensation for laid off staff, for those still on notice, which is many people, to have options to actually take their promised leave so it doesn't just go kaput. Also, a commitment to working with third parties so that any further redundancies are handled fairly, and also documented efforts to ensure company structure. This includes recognizing the IWGB as a trade union that is representing staff, and we will come back to that one because they've got a pretty key role to play.
Oh boy, man, you know it's a shit show when when someone wants to be a part of a union.
Here. So basically, staff are trying to do what they can here, and that, I mean, makes obvious sense. You get whatever power you can, you drum up public support to try to advocate for your side of things, and they want to protect themselves and, of course, their livelihoods from this.
Does anyone, by the way, support these people or care? Do you actually care about these developers? I don't care about developers. Every time a developer gets fired, I'm like, I'm happy inside, because most developers are talentless or slop-loving or woke people. So why would I ever support them? Why would I care? Everyone who gets fired in World of Warcraft, good. Diablo 4, good. Most games, Bethesda fired all of them. Ubisoft, get them out of my sight. BioWare, never again. So, I mean, do you care? I personally absolutely do not care about the typical average developer. But do you? I wonder, am I alone here? Am I alone in being happy when these people are getting fired? These virtue signaling woke people who care about nothing but political pandering? The people who made Ghost of Yote? Am I the only one? I mean, it kind of makes me happy when these people get fired. But in any case, like the video right now. Hype it up on a mobile device. It takes less than a second to do so, and thank you for everyone who does it. It means a lot. It actually leaves a very big impact, and you help me. And I appreciate that, boys. I really do. And if you think this stuff that we're talking about is important, then definitely like the video or hype it up on a mobile device right now. And thank you truly for everyone who does.
Mismanagement of this game and its disastrous release. Now, the union, the IWGB, helped facilitate the open letter. They helped to make the public aware of the allegations against the Barb leadership, but that's not all they're doing. They are also filing multiple legal actions against Builder Rocket Boy. The claims, well, things like a failure to carry out fair consultation ahead redundancies, plus multiple cases of unfair dismissal. And there's things, at least with UK employment law, that you gotta do right. So incorrect notice periods, that's bad. Performances scored by wrong management, that's bad. Those things are actually grounds for real legal action. And this is action that individual employees, well, might not manage.
I mean, that's not just in the UK, that's probably everywhere in the world minus India.
Alone. They're newly redundant developers. They may be a little bit more busy, you know, trying to somehow find a job in an industry that has also seen massive layoffs over the past few years. So many layoffs that we can't even give you an accurate number. It's hard to track. Now, to state the obvious,
it's not a lot, by the way. There is this precedent, this try to make it out like it's the biggest layoff ever, but in reality, what was it? Was it like 5% of all developers got fired? That's less than other industries on average.
None of this can turn back the clock. You can't just pretend that, oh, a union is a magical wand and you can go, woo, and now everything's better. No, like the financial realities are the financial realities. It's not going to undo how staff claim they were treated in the past. It's not going to somehow, mean that, oh, the workers' rights have all suddenly been respected and look at that, money has appeared because everyone's decided to go and buy Mind's Eye and Steam. That stuff's not going to happen. But what staff are hoping for is a bit more realistic. It's this union-backed action that would ensure they are protected in the future. And they actually just got an incredible example from somewhere else in the UK. It's basically proof of what can be achieved even with famously controversial management. You see, that's because there's a reason why they're working with IWGB on this letter and on the legal action. Because IWGB backed unionization at Zaum, which, you know, is the studio behind Disco Elysium that completely descended into utter chaos. There's battles between managers and other managers, owners and other owners, staff and managers and managers and owners, and absolute chaos that's also fragmented into, probably at this stage, 50 successor studios. It's all very silly. But if the IWGB got that union recognized by its leadership, then perhaps they'll have something to offer. Let's talk about them then. The Zaum Workers Alliance has a claim, and that claim is that they're the first recognized video game workplace union in the United Kingdom. They've been so since early October, and following negotiations, an employee committee will now meet with management regularly. And this is stuff that is backed by IWGB. They assisted in both the formation and the...
If you're not at the top of the union, aka going on lavish trips constantly and things like that, because obviously that's what union leaders do, then you're getting played so goddamn hot. It's funny.
Recognition negotiations, and here's what's striking. Management at Zaum recognized the union, and that is in stark contrast to the company's historic behavior toward employees, which has been documented all around the internet. A union representative spoke to GameIndustry.biz. They basically said that the last round of layoffs and cancellations drove this formation, that recognition alone took 6 months of work with the company management. That's not quite how the Zaum president, Ed, tells the story. Now, he's relatively recently hired.
I mean, I don't think we even care about the union stuff. I didn't actually think that Mind's Eye was still around. They had to issue refunds, right? Because the game was just too broken. So, well, if you ask me, I think there's a bigger chance that Mind's Eye has Cyberpunk 2077 redemption story than Starfield. But, you know, that's just one man's opinion. Anyway, that was Billy, your gaming 10 out of 10. Bye!